the sides of the eyes and under the eyes, it is too thick a material, and it will give little bumps in that area because there's just not enough skin to form around it. We're looking for deep repair of these lines. It's injected at about the level between the fat and the bottom of the skin.
And the going with silicone versus collagen, how would you determine which one you're going to use?
Well,
because they're both fillers, right?
They're both fillers, one being temporary in the form of collagen, one being permanent in the form of silicone. If patients are concerned about silicone and they'll ask me a lot of questions, I would rather not have them do it. I think that silicone is very safe. It's been used for 30 years in microdroplet technique, and when it's done properly, it lasts for as long as we last. Since we're temporary, we'll need recharges as we go along.
Do you have any images on the silicone?
We sure do.
We can go to?
We see that first image. Here's a young lady. I use the word young advisedly. She's in her 50s.
That's young.
It is young. She's got deep melolabial folds, and we want to repair them. We'll see the second image. We have a nice softening of these lines. We can't inject silicone in one session because we're going to have the body react to it. What we want to see is a softening over monthly injections, and they're done in a serial puncture technique where we're going in tiny little points along that line. I believe we have another image. Here we have another young woman who is also concerned about her marionette lines. And we've done 4 sessions. We'll see the second image. We were concentrating on the marionette lines here. She was very concerned about them. She felt that it looked like she was frowning all the time or upset or sad. And we have made what I consider to be a major improvement here. I like to maintain the subtle difference between cosmetic units. From the point we're born, we are designed to look at the mouth as a certain region, cheeks as a certain region. It is important not to overcorrect.
And with collagen, you test the skin to see if their patients are going to tolerate it?
With collagen derived from cow skin, we're going to test twice. We do 2 skin tests, one on the forearm, one at the run of the hairline. With the newer form of collagen from human tissue, we don't have to skin test. With Restylane and Perlane, there are no skin tests required, but all of these things are temporary fillers. Silicone really is the only thing that is permanent.
And with silicone, you don't need to test, do you?
No, not at all. I can very safely recommend it to patients because with the combined experience of my dad and I, we have never had a problem, knock on wood, and I don't expect to.
Now, what about Restylane? Tell me a little bit about Restylane.
Restylane is a new product awaiting FDA approval. It's made from hyaluronic acid, which is a component of our skin, and it is synthetically derived. It has been shown to have the same amount of restorative power as cow skin-derived collagen, which is about 2 to 5 months. So for patients who are just getting into facial rejuvenation, they're concerned about permanence, and they always should be concerned about the things that worry them. I'll often recommend something that's temporary and say, let's make a correction. The advantage of these temporary fillers is you can put as much in as you want and get an instant change, and then the body slowly takes them away. With silicone, you have to sneak up on that change in monthly sessions. So for patients who want an instant repair, silicone isn't for them.
Smokers tend to get these fine lines perpendicular to the vermilion border, and how do you approach those?
Smokers have a different set of skin problems. There's a lot of aging from nicotine exposure. Fine lines don't respond as well to many of the fillers. We can put collagen or Restylane all across the border of the lip, but you're still going to have those lines. This situation is going to require something else in terms of laser resurfacing or a heavy peel in order to get those fine lines, to resurface the skin before you start to repair the damage made by the constant puckering.
We were talking earlier about our aging population, that there are over 78 million baby boomers, and obviously the older you get, the more aging starts to show up in terms of wrinkles, fine wrinkles, sagging, etc. And we're seeing the younger population getting more concerned about wrinkles and aging, and you know, thanks to the effect of TV and telling everybody, you know, if you have a little line, you're old, and, you know, watch out. When is the optimal time for individuals, and women, men, to start taking measures besides, you know, obvious sun exposure for dealing with wrinkles?
Well, you think it's obvious that people should avoid sun exposure, but it's not as obvious as we'd like to see it. I think the greatest preventive measure for future sun damage is to use sunscreen, to teach your kids to use sunscreen, to use it as an example so your kids will follow you. The younger you are when you start paying attention to your skin in the form of at-home regimens with glycolic acid or retin A, with doing Botox and regular peels or microdermabrasion, the less you're going to have to spend both in time, discomfort, and money the older you get. So the best time to do it is the minute you think about it.
Which a lot of people tend to put off. I know, having teenage kids, put on your sunscreen, yeah, right, you know, and chase them down.
That's why,
tackle them.
You know, it's harder to break a good habit than it is to form a bad one.
I recently heard that using sunscreen at a very early age and constantly could interfere with the metabolism of vitamin D and lead to rickets. Have you heard anything about this?
I think that's an extreme case. I mean, we all need a little bit of sun exposure because we've got to convert vitamin D to a form that we can use and develop our good bones by bringing in calcium. But I think that just like anything, overuse is potentially a problem. I have never seen that occur, never seen the case, but it's always something that might occur. But we get enough sun simply walking from our house to the car to the office, office to the car, and back home again. Our kids go out, they play in the sun. We usually have phys ed between the hours of 11 and 2, which is the worst time for sun exposure. I don't think that we can overuse sunscreen.
And what is your favorite thing to do in practice? What is, when you're doing a procedure and you say, God, this is so neat, and you see results? Everybody had a favorite thing. When I was in practice, I had a favorite procedure. Is there something that you have?
Laser resurfacing is probably the most amazing thing to me that I do on a regular basis. The ability to remove the years from someone's face, actually watch their skin get tighter, lose the lines in the course of an hour's work is really very satisfying.
And do you ever use like laser and Botox, collagen and Botox, mix treatments up in individuals?
I am very definitely a proponent of the art of rejuvenation. I use a palette.
So it's not one tool for everything?
No, man, you got a hammer, you're not going to hit everything. It becomes a nail. You know, patients are going to come in and say, I have a wedding in 2 weeks and I want to look 20 years younger. You can't do that. And patients are going to come in and say, I have this problem and I want to do Botox for it. Botox may not even be the right thing to do. Acne scarring is an excellent example. I have a whole host of treatments that include silicone, Botox, resurfacing, microdermabrasion, and it's a constant state of improving the appearance because we never get to perfection, never get to 100%.
And tell me about microdermabrasion. How does it work? What does it do?
It's a very simple procedure. There's a vacuum system with an oxide crystal. It's basically microsanding of the skin.
Like sandblasting?
Kind of, except our feelings when it first came out was that sandblasting was what was actually doing the change, that we were taking away the impurities by peeling off the upper layers of skin, and to a certain extent that does have an effect. But we've now seen through serial studies of actual skin, looking at it under the microscope, we've seen that not only is it a surface change, but we are causing inflammation and collagen reformation because of that inflammation, which makes skin look better. It's very much along the same lines of chemical peeling, You know, we're using different vehicles to get to the same endpoint.
You know, today we're witnessing an explosion of cosmeceuticals and all these crazy creams that people put on, and to a great extent, the majority of them, you know, they're good. They last until you take a shower, and then they go away. And because of you know, marketing and stuff, people are led to believe that all this stuff works. What cream do you recommend for people who are concerned about, you know, just maintaining just a general cream to use for their skin?
I think a moisturizer with a sunscreen and glycolic acid is probably the single best thing that you can use on a regular basis.
These are over-the-counter formulations?
Over-the-counter, most of the time they're over-the-counter formulations. The problem with over-the-counter formulations is that they are designed to be tolerable to the greatest number of people. So their ingredients are toned down to the point where they're not going to give you a little redness, they're not going to give you a little peel, they're not going to give you effect. So when you go to a physician and he's got either a private label line, for instance, I have a line, it says Resnik Dermatology on it, but I also use a lot of other products made by companies. When you go to that physician, he or she is going to be able to guide you to a regimen that's going to be able to make the changes that you want, but in addition, he's going to, or she is going to be able to handle the side effects that may occur, that actually should occur to see some change.
And what about collagen creams? Is that, I mean, to me it doesn't make sense that the collagen is going to penetrate the skin barrier. Or does it?
It doesn't.
It doesn't. So it's your waste of your money.
If you rub dirt on your skin, it's not going to penetrate.
Work as good as collagen creams?
Collagen creams don't work. There are several creams that are marketed to be better than Botox. There's actually a botulinum toxin cream. This protein is so fragile that letting the material dissolve in the solution too quickly is going to break it down. How in God's name are you going to get it into your skin? By rubbing it.
Yeah. And I think it's safe to say that a lot of stuff we see on TV is just really not all there, and therefore it's good to speak to a dermatologist, speak to somebody with knowledge in skincare, because you may be just throwing a lot of money away.
You can spend $400 or $500 at Nordstrom's. You can spend $100 in a dermatologist's office, and I think you'll get 4 times the effect in the dermatologist's office than you will at Nordstrom's.
Well, Dr. Resnik, I want to thank you for taking time from your busy schedule to meet with us. I know we several attempts to get you were finally successful, and I'm very grateful, and I appreciate your time, and that's all the time we have, and I want to thank our viewers for joining us, and we'll see you again. Have a good day.
From the news station, this is 7 News at 5.
Well, if you are thinking about having some cosmetic work done to make you look a little bit younger, say, but you don't have much time, you could be in luck.
In our special assignment report, health specialist Marilyn Mitzel shows us the hottest fast fixes that'll have you in and out of the doctor's office in minutes with no downtime.
Demi Moore, Joan Rivers, and Michael Jackson have all done it. For better or for worse, they've had some kind of cosmetic procedure.
What if you could change something about yourself? What if you could do it in minutes? Admit it, you'd go for it. But what would that something be?
Just kind of the pouty look, I guess, is what I'm looking for.
When Courtney Lou Verhagen decided to plump up her thin lips, she chose one of the hottest new products, hyaluronic